So we're going into planning. We're going to set up our fields and boundaries. We're going to make sure all of our naming structure and all of our fields is correct. We're going to make sure we got our equipment added in there and our measurements. Down here in products, we're going to go through getting rid of all of our hybrids that we're not planting and adding in our new hybrids. Then next we got plan. So we'll go through work planner a little bit, prescription creator, and then we got analyze. So now we've set up, we've planned, we've gone and done the operation. Now we're going to analyze the data. Let's look at our full-on report of acres and dates and stuff like that, or let's look at our planning maps to see how we did. So we're going to cover the setup tab first. So our first bar across here is connections. So if any of you guys have run climate in the past, that's one thing that we can add and partner to there. That's kind of what Chris was talking about, was cloud-to-cloud API. There's a ton of third-party companies in here. Some insurance companies are on here. LibreCart, which is a popular one, just to get your farms and fields from Op Center into your LibreCart app. And you can spend a lot of time on here. I think CropX is on here. Yeah, CropX is on here. I don't know for sure how that works as far as being partnered, but as well as data retrieval for, like I said, Field View, Raven, Slingshot, all that stuff is all in here. So if there's something specific you're looking for, you can search it up here in the top left and then go through connecting. It'll have you log into your account for whatever you're trying to connect to. So next we're going to cover data sync. So has anybody heard of data sync in here? A little different than what you might think of like in-field data sharing. So data sync is basically live stream between all your JD Link enabled equipment and operations center. So basically, if you were to create a new guidance line in the planting tractor, it's going to share that out with all your other JD Link enabled equipment as well as operations center. So we're going to go through a little bit on enabling that. So there, you do have to be careful, and this is something you guys can all come talk to me about if you're wanting to enable it or try it. You do have to enable it per machine. So you can see we got an enabled one here and the rest are disabled. Because everything's live stream, if you don't turn it on correctly, it'll really mess everything up. So if you have stuff that you delete or have deleted off your display, it'll delete it in Operations Center. So, and kind of vice versa. So you got to be careful. There's a little bit of a system to doing it. So what we recommend is getting all your data exported off your displays into Operations Center, and then go through Operations Center, get everything cleaned up the way you want it. You know, editing field names, deleting fields that don't have any operations to them, that kind of stuff. Clean up guidance lines, equipment, all that. Then what we recommend doing, and we'll go through it when we go over the Gen 4 and Gen 5 displays, is doing a factory reboot. So that'll just delete everything off the display. So that way, when we turn data sync on, everything will live sync then from Operations Center. All of our good data that we've cleaned up will sync to the display and it will be correct. All right, so we'll dive in a little more here on the equipment. Okay, so we got our equipment up here. As we go through some of the other things and set up and plan, you guys will notice that up here in the right, this whole top bar up here will look really similar. So here in equipment, we got machines, implements, devices. In land, it'll look a little different. But all this up here in the top right, we have add, transfer, delete, archived, all that kind of stuff. So they try to kind of keep the same format for all these pages here. So here we have our equipment list. We have over here on the right side pairing. So that's telling us that this machine has a cell modem, a R or M series modem, but no display. And then if you notice down here in our combine, we have a modem as well as a display. So if we go ahead and click on one of these, it's going to give us this information box over here. It's kind of hard to see, so in the top right here, there's an expand part, so we can see everything we need to see about this machine. We're able to edit the name here. We got our make, model year. If you have your serial number in there, even if it doesn't have a modem in it, like say you got an old 4960 or something like that, still kind of handy to put the serial number in there. That way, if you're here getting filters for it or getting a part for it and there's a serial number break, you can quick pull up your phone on your mobile app and see the serial number of it. I think that's kind of handy. So even all your machines that you have in here that don't have modems, you can still do that. Up across the top here, we have characteristics. So this is going to be all of our receiver offsets. Obviously, this is the time of year that we want to be putting all this stuff in, making sure everything's measured. If you have had the equipment list in here before and you've done a setup file onto your display and then you've sent a setup file back onto here, it will actually load your offsets. But I always recommend just going through and checking them just to make sure that that's right, because obviously coming into planning, the offsets are very important. So we got our connection offsets for our hitches. You can select between your drawbar, rear pivot, 2-point, all that, and then change the offset for them. And then, like I said, we got our receiver offsets here. So make sure this is on center. The only reason it would be on right is if you put an offset in there, but like I've helped most of you do this before, we try to keep our tractor offsets center and put our left-right implement offsets on our implement, so that way when you hook up to something else, we don't have an offset in there from planning, and it kind of just messes everything up. So next across the top there, we got pairings, discard. So here we go, okay, there we go. So we got our pairings, we got our machine serial number, and then we got our modem. So this one we have a M series modem. We got current software, serial number, status update frequency. We usually leave it set to the default here. And then we also have service advisor remote checked. So that way if you guys have an issue, we think software can fix it. The guys in the shop can actually send remote software to it and update controllers on the machine. And then lastly, we got support. There's not much for this thing in here, but there's a lot of cases down here, a list to go through. We also got operator's manual, and then resources, parts catalog, software, product updates, all that kind of stuff. So most stuff that you guys, if you guys trade machines, that's stuff that we will, as a dealership, remove your old machine out of your account and put your new machine in there. So a lot of times you don't have to worry about it, but if you're using setup files, especially if you're using setup files like on a 2630, we need to have all your machines and implements in here. So you can see we got our planner, we got our disc, we got our sprayer boom. All that needs to be in there, because on a 2630, when you put a setup file in there, it'll override. I've come across it before where a guy makes a setup file for harvest, and you just have your combine and your 2 heads in there, and you put that in the 2630, you're only going to have that option. Then when you go back to planning, it won't let you change your machine from a combine to a tractor. It's not like that. In the Gen 4 and Gen 5s, you can still add a piece of equipment in there, but it's still good to have all that in there. And that way we get all of our measurements saved in there as well. So as far as us adding all that stuff in here, that's kind of what we'd be using up at the top. As far as adding in an old disc or 8300, 4650, so you hit the add equipment. If you don't know the serial number, you don't have to add it in there just to get it in there. So you can click the I do not have a serial number. Then you can enter your name. Let's just say 4440, 4440. We don't have a modem for it. Here's our tractor we're looking for, and then we go ahead and hit add equipment. So same concept whether you're adding in an implement or a tractor.
Yeah, and Dallin mentioned it, but any machines that have JD Link on them, you cannot add in here manually. They have to be transferred into your account. So even if you bought it not from us as Acres, get that serial number to Dallin. Our JD Link guy can most of the time get it transferred in.
Yeah, we actually have a guy that's just pretty much dedicated to handling all that kind of stuff. So usually if you guys just shoot me a serial number, I can text it over to Darren and he'll get it transferred in there. He's kind of got a system of doing it so that everything is organized and done right. So All right, so next on the setup tab is geofences and curfews. We're not really going to talk about this. I don't know if anybody in this room really has a use for it. Basically what it is you can set up basically a perimeter around your farm, and if a tractor or whatever crosses it, it'll notify you that it left the area. I think that's more of a super farm or co-op use, I guess, if you're trying to keep tabs on hired people. So, so this is probably the most important one we're going to get to in the setup tab.